What I'd like to speak to today is one of the real embodied experiences that I had spending 7 days with a group of there were 21 women and six instructors for support people and two co-facilitators of this retreat that I was at, which was about the somatics of conscious power exchange. Um, which is my language for speaking about conscious kink or conscious BDSM. And one of the most potent takeaways for me has been to feel this hierarchy of power establishing inside my own body. And for those of us who um, aren't as familiar with BDSM and kink and power exchange, um, I'll just do like a brief kind of introduction on what it is that I learned that frames it more truly to the potential of it in practice in a conscious way. What I knew to be BDSM or power exchange was not this. It was you kind of hear about all of the stimulation and all of the tools and all of the impact and pain and um, erotic sexual kind of activation. And those can be a part of it as well. And it doesn't actually have to be any of it, or it can be whatever amount of it feels aligned to the people who are playing a part in the scene work. So, mm, so the there are two parts of every power exchange scene, and those parts are containment, and you could call activation or penetration or stimulation anything that activates the nervous system into a sympathetic state versus containment, which is bringing the body into bringing the submissive's body into a parasympathetic state. So there are these two elements, and a scene might be 100% containment, where it's all about just bringing the submissive's body into a parasympathetic, grounded, anchored state, which occurs through, excuse me, turn that off, occurs through really through co regulation, but through the energetic presence of the dominant. And this one piece of a scene is highly overlooked in most of what at least I've been familiar with or been presented with as a power exchange container. So I'm not going to go into tons of detail about that, but just to understand that there are these two components of any conscious power exchange container, which is containment and activation or penetration. It's another word for it. A scene can be 100% containment. It could just simply be co-regulation and the dominant supporting the submissive to having a grounded body mind, a grounded parasympathetic nervous system. So there's a relationship between the two energetic pieces of the containment and the activation or penetration. There's also a relationship between the the dominant, and the submissive, the sub, in this container. And what is so one of the things that is so incredibly fascinating to me now that I understand this more truly, to more accurately to what it is that most of us have experienced domination, some sort of domination in our lives that has been non consensual. So even the idea of domination, it can be like, ooh, that's like a triggering, that's activating because we have fear. We have lived experience that has truly been threatening and dangerous. What BDSM does when practiced consciously is it takes that dynamic and it reconfigures it energetically, emotionally, psychologically, so that the person who is being dominated, the submissive, is 100% in agency. This is all consensual. And the submissive is the one who's actually truly in control. The energetics are that the sub is obeying the dom, but the reason the sub is obeying the dom is because there's whole trust and whole agency and whole consent in the parties practicing in this space. So there's all of this. So in a scene, you have two people, one playing each role. That's one version of it. It's the typical version of it. What we practiced, one of the things that we practiced daily in this retreat was feeling the archetypal energetics of a of the dom and the sub in our own body mind. And I've found this to be um, incredibly integrating for me and stabilizing for me. I've felt very practiced and like established in my body mind relationship with um, my practice of my spirit and the mystical essence of me being this everlasting piece of what it is to be human, what it is to be alive, alongside the other practice, which is nervous system attunement. The nervous system attunement, um, I'm gonna back up. So for me now, I have this hierarchy getting established within me, which is that my devotion is to this vaster, for me, what I call God creation consciousness, God being a non-gendered entity. I could even take that word out altogether and just say creation consciousness. My devotion is to creation consciousness that enters my body through my dominant archetype, my dom, and within this concentric hierarchy of power, my submissive gets to be fully let go and fully surrendered into the experience of trust, the experience of safety, the experience of care and benevolent power. And in that, like, even as I say that out loud, in that, there's this, like, rush of, like, meltingness. There's this, like, "Ah, I get to do that." And I get to establish those feelings inside my own body. So I desire this type of dynamic in partnership also. There's something that I can feel energetically in my body that's like, "Oh my god, yes, that is essential to my integrative, uh, fully expressed humanness as a woman, that feels true for me. It might not feel true for other women, but that absolutely feels true for me to be able to fully surrender and let go and feel that feeling of being completely held by another entity, which might be in 3D reality relationally a male. It might be a male partner. But I get to feel this dynamic and this relationship within my own body mind. And in that, there's this relaxation. And I'm seeing it show up in how I engage with my son. There's a different sort of clarity and energetic like precision in the way that I am communicating with him, in the language, in the feeling behind the language. It's super interesting. So there's this devotion to the essence God creation consciousness that enters me through this archetype of Dom that then gets to support and contain and meet my inner sub. And then underneath that are all these other roles and archetypes of me as a mother, as a homeowner, as a business owner, as a friend to other women, as a woman seeking male partnership, as a as a woman who has lived experience with dynamics that might have an integration. And we called this the modern woman archetype, the woman who is fiercely independent, who might not want to be in a place of like dependency on anyone or anything. Um, this place of um, fear or protection from places from the past, and that I don't have to shut anything from that, from those fears or protectiveness or unintegrative pieces down, that I get to actually meet those places from within this hierarchical arrangement in my own body. And in that, there's this, oh, like I'm meeting myself, the secure, self-attached um, wholeness of me gets deeper refinement. And it's such an interesting thing to play with that I've never played with before. Um, Refinement just keeps feeling like the word that makes the most sense. It's such a refining happening in the energetics of my being, in the psychology of me, in the emotionality of me, and in that, in the physiology of me. So that's what I want to share today. Um, Perhaps this had some helpful piece of information, and I would invite us all to play with this idea of what is a dom to you within you. One of the things I noticed was that like I actually had a like ooh, there was some friction for me even in the understanding or the consideration of hierarchy. Um, Outside of me, but then bringing that inside of me and getting to feel this like, oh, there's some maybe resistance or friction or confusion or fear or distrust of what this hierarchy can actually do that's beneficial for me. So I gotten to play with that and feel a complete reorientation to it that's helping me actually feel like I'm meeting myself in a deeper, more truer, more effective way than I had prior to this retreat. So I'm sure I'll be sharing more about the things that I learned over the coming weeks. Um, if you are curious to speak more about conscious power exchange with me, it's going to be another modality that I offer clients. I am continuing to feel this like enamored, allured, uh, completely compelling draw to it as a modality for transformation and healing without it claiming it to be that, which makes is part of the reason that makes it so incredibly intriguing. It is I had some of the deepest feeling experiences, like medicine journey type experiences, like intensely moving feeling experiences in my body in extremely simple practices, scene work that maybe we were just being guided in postures, or maybe we had like we would do trade with our partners at the retreat, and one of us would create containment for each other simply by putting our hands on the other person's back and feeling the deep movement, body mind movement, the somatic movement of me in those very simple ways was just blowing me away and continuing to captivate me and keep me very compelled to learn more and to continue my implementation and practice of this as a modality for my personal growth, but also to share it with others. So stay tuned for more. And if there's any interest in learning more about my offerings with conscious power exchange, intentional power exchange, please reach out to me. And until next week. Mwah.